The expansion of the 8th century Frankish realm relied on the brutal logistics of supply lines rather than the romanticized imagery of chivalric crusades. By the late 700s, Francia functioned as an aggressively expanding geopolitical monopoly, methodically absorbing its regional competitors. Charlemagne acted as the state's chief executive, focused on scaling a fractured agrarian society into a centralized, high-output machine. His administration achieved this through three primary levers: the application of military terror, the invention of corporate auditing, and the standardization of communication. The logistical execution of this takeover provided the blueprint for the modern European state. The 32-year Saxon Wars functioned as a sustained campaign of corporate assimilation and resource extraction. At Verden, the execution of 4,500 Saxon prisoners was carried out as a systematic state process, a mechanical clearing of the empire's regional opposition. The Capitulatio de Partibus Saxoniae provided the legal code for this cultural eradication. By mandating the death penalty for pagan practices, the decree utilized capital punishment to terrorize the population into total compliance with Frankish rule. This political expansion was underwritten by the economics of the international slave trade. Saxons, Avars, and Slavs captured on the frontiers flowed through a logistical pipeline to the Arab Muslim caliphates, with the returning capital funding further military growth. These profits directly subsidized Charlemagne's ability to maintain a standing military and push the empire's borders further east. Within this model, forced Christianization served as an administrative tool to break local identities and integrate new subjects into the Frankish economic system. Expanding a monopoly creates a management bottleneck, the need to delegate authority to regional counts and dukes. Without oversight, these local managers drift toward corruption, hoarding regional resources that the central state requires. To counter this, Charlemagne implemented the Missi Dominici, the envoys of the Lord. The Capitulare Missorum Generale of 802 codified this system, turning it into a permanent arm of the central government. These traveling audit teams consisted of one layman and one ecclesiastic, traveling together as direct representatives of the king's supreme authority. To prevent the auditors from forming their own regional power bases, the administration rotated them yearly and strictly isolated them from local interests. The auditors patrolled the Massacre, specific regional circuits that ensured every corner of the empire remained under the threat of a central audit. This system used administrative terror to override the natural entropy of the feudal system, keeping power firmly centered in the royal court. The Carolingian project focused on the top-down installation of state communication infrastructure. Court scholars defined this effort as correctio, a systematic overhaul of the empire's data transmission systems. The state faced an internal data crisis. Divergent regional dialects made royal decrees mutually unintelligible across the continent. Alcuin of York was tasked with standardizing medieval Latin as the official language of the state's bureaucracy. This standardization led to the development of the Carolingian minuscule script, seen here in this 9th century manuscript. The script was engineered for rapid legibility and accurate data transmission, introducing standardized lowercase letter heights and clear separation between words. Large-scale scriptoriums functioned as data centers, where monks mass-produced identical copies of royal capitularies for distribution to the missi. Standardized Latin and Carolingian minuscule provided the software necessary to transmit legal code across a massive geographical monopoly. The 800 AD coronation finalized the transition from a regional kingdom to a universal empire. Charlemagne knelt in St. Peter's to receive the imperial title. This act functioned as a mutual, transactional branding exercise between two executives in need of legitimacy. Pope Leo III, recently attacked by political rivals in Rome, required a military enforcer to maintain his position. Charlemagne required an ideological supremacy that could rival the established Byzantine Empire in the East. Adopting the title Imperator Romanorum allowed for a hostile takeover of the dormant Western Roman imperial legacy. This new imperial branding was immediately stamped onto the empire's currency, projecting Charlemagne's absolute authority into every local market. The golden mosaics and arched marble columns of the Palatine Chapel provided the permanent physical architecture for this new imperial brand. The Carolingian Empire forged the modern European state through the synchronized application of military logistics administrative audits, and ideological branding.